What's up, guys? CJ here, and welcome back to another episode of the Superfriends podcast, where we break down all the big news coming out of the DC universe, big screen and small. I'm joined, as always, by Tim.
How's it going, everyone?
And Luke.
Hey, guys. What's up?
Kristen Wiig has reportedly been cast. She's in negotiations. She hasn't agreed to it yet, but they're in negotiations. She's been, cast as Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this by the time you're listening to this podcast, but it's one of those things that I initially was like, damn, I didn't like it. I didn't like the choice. Tim, I think we were on the same page there.
Yeah.
We were on the same page there. Luke, you came in and you had a little bit more of a positive reaction.
For once.
For once. Luke, what did you think about this choice? Like, what kind of gives you a sense of optimism about this casting?
Well, I know that Kristen Wiig can do, actually serious roles, and she can do them well, because she's been in, a few dramas, and, she's never been, the main star, but she's always been pretty good. In The Martian, she has a good role there. There's a movie with Jim... What's his name?
The
Jim
Secret
Hader.
Life of Walter Mitty?
No, not that. I hated that. Fucking... One with Bill Hader. It's I guess it's kind of cheating because it's a comedy and a drama, but she has some good stuff in that too.
Last Man on Earth, is that the TV show?
No, not that. It's a movie. It's like Skeleton Twins. That's what it was.
Okay.
She was pretty good in that too. So I feel like she has the capability for a more serious kind of thing. My big thing though is just because I could definitely see her as Barbara Ann Minerva if they wanted to go a route where. Not really at a candy tier, but a character that's a little bit more frumpy or whatever than, Gal's Wonder Woman.
When he described it to me initially, my brain immediately went to female Edward Nygma.
That's just because I'm not very good at explaining my points, but I guess that is applicable though, and female Edward Nygma would count. On Gotham, that guy.
Yeah, that's a little bit kind of what I was worried about, because it's partially, and I will admit, I have not seen a lot of Kristen Wiig's more dramatic stuff. I know she was, I've heard she was really good in Skeleton Twins. She was in Mother. She was also in The Martian, and I think she did a really good job there. She can hold her own, and I know that typically, it's the comedic actors that can more easily make the jump to dramatic acting than vice versa. For some reason, I think, to do comedy, you got to have something special. And if you're a good actor, you're a good actor, really, no matter the genre. And I'm sure, she's able to break that barrier like so many other good comedic actors. When I first, heard it, I thought, man, this is going to, I could not stop envisioning it as, an SNL sketch, right? It was she's basically, they're going to throw her out there in, body paint and, a cheetah print bikini or something like that, and I just
have her be in the cheetah onesie from the original Priscilla Witch version.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. Versus the
Priscilla.
And we will talk a little bit about that in a second. But I just couldn't see past it. But Tim, what were your thoughts?
I'd have to wait to see what it came out with. But my main issue is that I've just never been a fan of Kristen Wiig. Even back when she was on SNL, she did. One of my issues with her is that she goes too far with things that it stops having a point or meaning. I haven't seen a chunk of her dramatic roles, but my fear is that with the cheetah, they're gonna go way too over the top with her, and that's why they went with someone with a more comedic background.
So that's what I was curious about, and I was thinking that they were gonna play it for comedy, play it over the top. In kind of what I would expect from Kristen Wiig. It's not going to be played, straight up, because Cheetah is such a physical foe. She's one of Wonder Woman's probably top-tier villains in terms of popularity, but also in terms of people that can actually, hold their own and, take a few punches and, get in a few licks of her own, no pun intended. So I wasn't sure about that, but I talked to a couple of my friends around the industry. I talked to the guys from Omega Underground in that hashtag show, and Chris from Omega Underground, he's very, very confident that Kristen Wiig is going to be able to play this straight. They're not going to have to go over the top with it or overly comedic, and we'll see. What really won me over is I was kind of surprised. I was shocked that there were not more people reacting negatively to it around the industry. Everyone has been really positive. You've got guys like Scott Mendelson at Forbes saying, hey, basically, remember when people thought that casting Heath Ledger as the Joker was an awful choice? And it's like, that's true. If you go back and look at the reactions for that, almost universally negative. I mean, like, talk about, you're going to get the guy from A Knight's Tale to play the Joker. It ended up being an inspired decision. So who knows? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But it is worth noting, people said the same thing about, like, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Michael Keaton as Batman, Ben Affleck as Batman. Everybody kind of had,
Though the latter camp may be a bit justified at this point.
I was about to say, some people are still saying that about Ben Affleck as Batman.
Exactly. So there's definitely, there's been some castings in the past, It's Affleck TBD. I think if he has another good movie in him, or if he has a good movie in him,
he has to get it right one time.
Just once. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
That's just all. That's all it takes. We'll see.
Cheetah's such a weird character that I really have to wonder. Like, it's just one of those things where I've never really imagined that it would be really easy to tackle it, because there's all this sort of stigma around it. Like, and I just think the idea of like special effects surrounding a cheetah woman are going to be hard to make believable, especially if we look at the past villains that DC has been having, where they just look like PS2 Shadow of the Colossus bosses.
Yep. I want her to go through the cheetah ritual and look exactly like Stephen Wolf.
Well, so speaking of that, we also have confirmation now that from a previous That Hashtag Show report from earlier this week, the villain of Wonder Woman 2, they said then, was going to be Cheetah, which, congrats, guys, that was correct, and I'm glad that they were correct in that. But they
had a 1 out of 3 chance of being correct, and they nailed it.
They did it. They confirmed that it's going to be the Barbara Minerva version of Cheetah, so it's not going to be Priscilla Rich, unfortunately, or her niece, Debbie, whatever her name was.
Or that one
Debbie,
guy.
whatever the fuck her last name is.
Exactly. Or that one guy, Sebastian Ballesteros, the male Cheetah.
That's his name.
Oh yeah, he's an Argentinian businessman. But no, so it is going to be Barbara Minerva, the one who went through the ritual, and let me make sure that I pronounce this correctly. The avatar of the cheetah, the champion of Kartaga. There we go. I nailed it. Kartaga.
Pretty sure that's right.
Yeah. So we'll see if they go into all the mystical stuff. I don't see why they wouldn't. But a lot of people are saying, hey, there might be another villain in there. Kristen Wiig. I mean, if we're hearing about Kristen Wiig now, that doesn't necessarily mean she's going to be the main villain. But I mean, if they're casting Cheetah first, I would assume Cheetah's probably, going to be the front and center villain. But there could also be a secondary villain, or even kind of a co-lead. Our buddies over at Omega Underground dropped a scoop earlier this week with some production details. That's usually their specialty. So they've been digging around. They found out Wonder Woman 2 is going to film this summer, as previously reported. It's probably going to start in June. And it's going to return to Warner Bros. Studios UK, where they shot Justice League and the first Wonder Woman. And they also learned the working title for the movie is going to be Magic Hour. Not exactly sure what that means, given, you never want to read too much into a production title, a working title for a film. But recently there have been a lot of, especially in the DCEU, there have been a lot of hints in production titles. Like, for example, Shazam. It's kind of their working title was Franklin, which is a tongue-in-cheek reference to Ben Franklin's lightning experiment. So it's always something that kind of relates a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But with Wonder Woman, go ahead.
I was about to say Aquaman's Splashtown.
Splashtown, yes. No.
Luke Cage is his tiara.
Exactly. I mean, Iron Fist's is Kick. Daredevil's is... trying to remember what Daredevil's is. It was Kick. That's what they posted up like around New York. You can go find if they were streets
no wonder
they were filming
that show
on.
ended up the way it did.
They couldn't even get the right part of the body.
Defenders was something like Group Therapy or something like that. Aquaman's working title is Ahab. So it's kind of it's usually a tongue-in-cheek reference to something about the film.
Better.
Splashtown was Waterworld.
Waterworld was the better choice, though.
But make you wet.
Magic Hour. Magic Hour doesn't really. There's nothing really about Wonder Woman that kind of strikes me as Magic Hour really fits, and so that led to some speculation from Omega Underground that this is a reference to Cersei, or Kirke, as she's her name is supposed to be pronounced.
The other 33% of who this possibly could be as the villain.
Now, they point back to some initial reports from, Humberto Gonzalez, El Maimbe himself, that originally for the first Wonder Woman, WB was looking at Ava Green to play Cersei in that film, and that role, Cersei's role, eventually became Dr. Poison. And Cersei's like a major enough villain that I'm kind of like, I'm not sure how that would work, so that must have been early draft. I would be interested. Cersei and Cheetah have some history in the comics. Cersei's the one that essentially turned her into a cheetah full-time, rather than just every full moon or whatever it originally was.
She was a were cheetah.
Exactly.